data into a risk tiering so that you can put some strong mandatory controls in place.
Okay, so make some sense of it at the very beginning. All right. Question for you, James. Flip side of that, give me some bad advice on dealing with AI workflows.
Uh, some of the bad advice that I tend to hear is kind of the whole, don't worry, your existing cybersecurity stack will cover AI too. And AI didn't just add new tools; it changed how data is accessing or is accessed, who's accessing it. Like treating it like a traditional security problem is how risk actually slips through the cracks.
So the bad advice is do nothing. And back to you, Doug. What's worse than that? Give me
You
some
should
worse
always
advice.
you should always just trust your data in any AI.
Ah, I kind of think that's the same as what James said, but we're going to go anyways. Let's start this.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome everybody to Super Cyber Friday. Today's topic is hacking AI workflows, an hour of critical thinking about securing sensitive data beyond the traditional cybersecurity perimeter. So this is a different way of looking at data because of how AI is treating data and also, generating data too, for that matter. So we have our guest, Doug Mayer, who is the VP CISO over at WCG, and also James Rice, the VP of Product Strategy and GTM, go to market with Protegrity. Huge thanks to James' company, and that would be Protegrity, for sponsoring this episode of Super Cyber Friday. Thank you very much for making that happen. All right, lots of ways to participate. For those of you who are regulars who've been here before, you know the drill. But let me point out that, first of all, you should all be in the chat room. If you're not there already, get there. Submit how to improve your AI workflows. So that's your 10% better tip. So it doesn't have to be global. It can be one small, tiny tip. Lots of small tips turn into a great tip. Just add hashtag 10P when you do that. If you want to join us on video at any time with a question or a comment, just type "bring me on," and our producer Josh will do his best to try to get you on. Most importantly, ask a question for our guests. If you look on the icons at the top, there are two round speech bubbles on top of each other with a Q inside of it. That Q stands for question. Click on that, type your question in. Sometimes people just type something in the chat, and then there's an option from that to turn that chat comment into a question. That's another possibility. You can also vote for your favorite question as well. All right, here's today's schedule. Good advice, bad advice, worse advice. How to improve your AI workflows. We want those 10% better tips. We will play the public interest, and we will play a new game, the Tragic Quadrant. I will say, if any of you are joined, and I know a few of you were at Cyber Marketing Con and saw my game, you are ineligible to win. And by the way, here, I'm right now sporting one of our new hoodie sweatshirts, CISO Series hoodie sweatshirts, nice and purple with the teal color there. Josh, would you do me a favor? Would you show, you know what? We'll show it right after I get this because I can't do it while I'm doing this. But we'll have our meetup at the end of the show. We're going to show our store. I'm going to show you that in a second. We'll have our meetup immediately after this. And that means after the show, we get to have face-to-face time virtually with each other. It's a lot of fun. If you've never done it before, we want you to come. All right, just lastly, this is our last show of 2025. Our next show won't be until January 9th, 2026. Hacking the SOC workflow. So we were talking about AI workflow now, SOC workflow in January, an hour of critical thinking of evolving security operations. So stick around for that. And I mentioned also stick around for our meetup. What I was saying about that, and I'm going to show this on the screen right now, call to action, show on stage, right there. Go ahead and register for the next event in January. Click on that right now, and you will be joining our event in January, and this will not take you out of this discussion. I'll open up another window. You register while you're still in this discussion. Go ahead and do that. I will remind you throughout if you forget to do it right now. The other thing is you can, on the top banner, you will see that, and I'll drop another banner for it. So it'll be there ever present all throughout the show. So please do that. Josh, can you take that off the stage, and can you show quickly the store? Right there. Just want to show, scroll that. This is our brand new store. When we play our game later, the one winner will be able to win something and pick something out of that store. So you're going to want to stick around and you're going to want to play as well. All right, get rid of it. I've done enough preliminary garbage. Let's get to our discussion at hand. And that is our topic. Let's just set the stage of what the heck we're talking about. And I'm going to start with you, James, on this. What are AI workflows now? What are we speaking about? And how would that compare to sort of our IT systems and architecture and how we're managing data normally, either cloud or, on premise? Like, what is different now?
Yeah, good foundation. Because the AI pipeline, AI workflows, they're no longer a single system, right? It's a chain of micro workflows of data collection, data prep, embeddings, and vectorizations, and retrieval, and then LLM interaction, and then downstream agents talking to each other, and outputs being generated. And data is so much more unstructured and more dynamic. It's really flowing more continuously. It's not in these discrete transactions. And, I think one of the more important things is AI doesn't consume context, or excuse me, it does consume context. It doesn't consume rows of data. And those agents don't necessarily follow application, infrastructure, or network boundaries. They follow the data and the intent, and they're looking for runtime context that mixes your most sensitive stuff with the public stuff. And then finally, AI systems combine multiple clouds, multiple tools, multiple plugins, none of which share a security model. So that's really kind of what we're talking about, and why this is so different than the stuff we've been looking at before.
That is a really good point. You said it right there at the end. The data does not care one iota about your architecture. Doug, what would you add to that?
No, I totally agree with that because what happens is now is that things have changed, things are dynamic. Runtime is important, so it's really become now uh, traditional tools will not fit the equation here. So
Let me ask you, have any of you, I was just thinking about it, have any of you tried sort of canary in a coal mine exercises where it's like, let's throw this, like maybe throw some dummy piece in, or I don't know, let's throw this in and let's see what could happen with it. Like if we throw this little piece of information out there, like how could we pull this out, expose it? I mean, have you guys ever tried experiments like that, James?
Yeah, I can't say it's something that I've done a lot of, but I would say the thing that to me kind of comes along with that is that like every step of this is just creating such temporary data, such immediate artifacts, all these new caches and prompts and logs, and
Right.
and so there very much is the need to do something different. I wouldn't say in my role that I've necessarily done that, but Doug, what about you on your side?
I mean, you always kick the tires around on things and you test things out. That's the whole part of innovation, right? You got to kick it around and see how it works and see if it's going to answer. So yeah, I think if you're going to pursue AI, you have to kick those tires like that. So
By the way, double check that you're on that microphone. I don't know if you are on that microphone, Doug. Just take a quick look. You may be. Um, just double check. If so, you may have to refresh again as well. If you're not, I mean, sorry, you may need to refresh again. All right, everybody, get your questions in for both Doug and James. Okay. Um, so let's start with what from our historical does still work and what is breaking down with regards to uh, sort of managing AI data. Like, is there anything that we can still rely on, but at this point we can't rely on? Go ahead and talk again, Doug. I'm sorry. Just
yeah, I'm on the microphone, so can you hear
okay.
me
So
better?
yeah, you sound good. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My question to you, James. So what's still working? What's not working? Like, what's the point that's breaking down for us? I guess.
Yeah, well, so the point that's breaking down is that agents don't follow the typical IT boundaries. Like I talked
Okay.
about before, it's the data, the intent, and so the perimeter dissolves the moment data leaves the system that was originally enforcing policy. So AI pipelines are basically perimeter bypass machines. They spread data across tools that were maybe never even in your trust boundary, and then you have RAG pipelines that replicate data into vector stores. You have things like knowledge graphs that are coming up that have all of the data and business context that they hold and could really be looked at as that next attack surface that we should all be worried about. So that's kind of the bad side of your question. I think the good side of your question is that, and sorry for the overused analogy,
Go
but
ahead.
security is a defense in depth strategy. We all know that. And so it's not that all of the things we've done in the past are bad. It's just that AI brings such a different context to data that we also have to think about things a little differently. So, data security and posture management, for example, shines a nice spotlight on where problems might be, but it doesn't necessarily give you something to address that problem. So, that's where I would say there is some good in being able to have the observability and visibility still.
By the way, Murad Sid said this, and I'm kind of I need you to flesh this sucker out here, but I like this concept about it. Adopt context engineering. Don't just give instructions, give the model a persona and a constraint box. You're nodding your head, so you know what this is, but I'd love to hear Murad's thought. Doug, what is context engineering?
Well, it's all about what goes in and what goes out, right? So that you got to
Mhm.
understand that context of what's in that data. Um, traditional tools look at signatures and looks at known good and solid and static code. Context is now more about the dynamic side that James mentioned earlier. Um, if something comes in and comes out, how do you know that it's what it's supposed to be unless you look at the context?
Mhm.
And that context is the most important part for AI. Like one of the
Mhm.
big things about some of the traditional approaches of blocking information is your AI starts to become starved of data. And if the AI is starved of data or starved of context, it doesn't get the value you want. This is why, and I know there's different opinions on some of the research that's out there, but there's a lot of research that says lots of people are not getting value out of the AI that they're trying to drive within their organization. And, a lot of times it goes to exactly what Doug was saying. It's because it doesn't have the context, doesn't understand that. This has to be context aware to be able to use data in the right way in an AI model.
By the way, Dwayne Grand
Yeah.
suggests tell your AI to talk like a pirate, and you will immediately understand how context affects what you get back. What did I was stepping on what you were about to say? Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's again like some of these. It's input and output, right? So the input and output becomes the what is the AI generating or what are you it's absorbing, but at the input and output, if that's where you get the injection and the leakage. So it's really important that you look at that from a data context perspective and not just trust it.
And one more thing, if you don't mind, to add
Sure,
to
sure.
it, because context is so important because there is no single silver bullet. There's not always the right answer. Even if you look at like fine grained protections like tokenization or anonymization, they play vastly different roles. And so the context of how data needs to be used by the business will determine the type of protection that needs to be put on that data as well.
By the
Yeah,
way,
and that goes back to what I said earlier about the unified risk tiers. Like if you start understanding your risks based on the data context and the and data classification, you can put stronger controls and focus on where something might be more sensitive than other types of data. So it helps you go faster to protect it and check it. So
so one of the things we've talked about on our programming is AI should be treated like a new hire. Like, you put protections around a new hire because a new hire can be risky. And also all hires get some level of security. And Dustin Sachs said this, treat AI the same as a non-AI persona, which I kind of liken that. Um, James, do you see things like that as well in terms of like we need to put a lot of the same controls because like a new hire, it's going to go out of they're going to make mistakes because they just don't know, and AI will do the same thing, but just at scale. That's why it's a little scarier. Yes.
I'm going to say yes and no, actually. I think
Okay.
yes, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to do around making sure that it does have the right guardrails and fences and stuff around it. But I'm going to say no because AI doesn't have a non-disclosure agreement, right? We're working with one of the largest organizations in the world that cares a lot about their sensitive data, and if you were to leak some of their sensitive data, you'd be fired. But you can't necessarily fire AI when it leaks your data. And so, yes, you need to treat it like that new hire, but we have to realize that it does. I love that phrase. I'm stealing from a customer we work with, but my agents don't sign NDAs.
That's a
it's
good point,
true.
Doug. What would you
It's
add to this?
true. No, I agree with that. And everything you read and everything you see out there, they say you should treat it as like a hostile broker. And you can't just trust it, but you got to just guardrail it and guardrail it properly so that this way you can work with it. So I think it's
Oh,
really important.
we got a ton of questions just came in. Excuse me. Uh, this is a good question. I like this from Dustin Sachs. How do you ensure that employees are aware of what to do and not do with AI without FUD? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, maybe you just hit us. What are some of your acceptable use policies with AI?
Well,
Good.
I think FUD is a good example because traditionally security is always trying to fear and loathe and doubt, right? So AI is a capable tool to help the business, but at the same time, you need to be very careful. So it's hard to be in that gray area. What is FUD and not FUD? Training is definitely important. Definitely have to have an AI council with a cross collaboration of groups there, so that the business and leadership and technology are always talking about the risk of AI, but also that training needs to be constant with folks because I don't AI is changing drastically, and the use of AI is changing drastically, and you need to keep everyone trained on good practices. Um, that's the biggest critical situation for anything cybersecurity.
So this I mean, this is far from a set it and forget it because of the speed of AI. There might be like weekly, monthly updates on stuff. Yes, James?
Yes, and I would say also to get away from the FUD, there's always the carrot and the stick. We can use the stick all we want and beat people over the head with it, which I like beating people over the head with the stick sometimes, and
Who
sometimes it's
wouldn't?
required. I think it was Dustin that just said in chat, talking mean to AI doesn't work either. A great little tidbit
Oh,
similar
by the
to the
way, just speaking of that, one of our sponsors showed me a whole like AI chat they had to help develop thing, and he just gets pure enjoyment of insulting AI, insulting ChatGPT when they screw up. And ChatGPT will act like, like a sorry child. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll try again.
Yeah,
It's funny.
I won't bore you with, but I had a very long argument with ChatGPT last night where it kept saying, "Well, I'm doing what you want." And I'm like, "No, you're not doing what I want." And this is actually what I mean by the carrot side, which is really about the outcomes and getting away from FUD and thinking about the accuracy and the outcomes and how security can actually play a role in making AI more trustworthy, more accurate because you're able to make sure it has the right information, the right context aware stuff that we were talking about before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it really needs to go with the gateway direction, right? So it checks everything before it hits the user, right? So that this way it's not misrepresenting or not doing it right, And that's where I think your example with ChatGTP is perfect.
You,
all right.
you have to have zero trust in AI, right? You have to literally say to yourself, I am not trusting any of these models or any of this information. But th- that's the stick, I guess, if you will. The carrot side is if you don't trust your AI, you can actually then get trustworthy AI. And what I mean by that is by not trusting it, you're ensuring that you're not giving it the most sensitive of information. But if you apply the right context aware, you can actually make sure your AI knows more, but still leaks nothing. And by having it know more, your AI will be more accurate and more trustworthy for your business. Because we all know about the hallucinations, we all know about the issues. Again, I won't bore you with mine, but when ChatGPT was literally telling me, I did what you asked. And I copy pasted a screenshot of the picture and said, "Go reread it yourself. You did not do what I asked you to do."
All right. We got our first game to play. Let's get this loaded.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right. For those of you who are new to join us, we now play our game through Kahoot. So, what I want everyone to do, including my guests, James and Doug, is there is a icon. And by the way, I'm going to play as well because I have not seen any of these myself. So click on the Kahoot icon, which looks like a little game controller. It's at the very bottom, or it might be the second to last icon you see there. Just type in that code 500-9492. Add your name as well. This game does not have real prizes. This is just bragging rights. But the next game we play will have real prizes. Again, if you were at Cyber Marketing Con, you are not eligible though for that because it's a game I played at Cyber Marketing Con with the audience. All right, I'm going to give you guys right now at this point. I'm going to give you a 10-second countdown for those of you who are not in, and I know there's a lot more of you out there. So you got 10 seconds to get in here. So start typing fast, and then we're going to play the game. Ready? Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Get in there. 5, 4, 3, 2, Is everyone getting in their last one? One. Let's start this game. Let's do this. Okay, it's the public interest. You have to figure out which word is more popular in search. That's how this game is played. It's not easy. 4 questions in total. Which term is, and you get points on accuracy and speed. Ooh, everyone's, and you have 10 seconds to answer. So there we go. Ooh, I got it correct. Prompt engineering beat prompt injection. I think it's probably for all the prompt engineering jobs that are out there. Look at that. I'm number 1.
See, it's not the security side that's the winner. It's the
Oh
it's
my
the
God,
business
look at
side.
that difference though.
Yeah.
Holy, it's like 11-fold there. That's what am I saying? More than that. That's unbelievable, the difference on those two.
Yeah. I did injection on that one.
Yeah, but it's only security people looking that up. Everyone else is looking up prompt engineering.
Sure.
Workflow pipeline. Okay, geez. This was a tough one. They're all good words.
Ooh, I feel like I got this one. We're gonna see.
We'll see.
Oh,
I did not get it.
I got it.
Pipeline. I got workflow. All right, I'm going to fall. Yeah, I'm falling. Andrew Akins, it's at the top. Andrew has won a lot lately. By the way, you could win this game perpetually. Lots of things to get at the. Actually, no. This one, there's no prize for this one. The next game will be a prize. All right, pipeline. Beat out. Geez, orchestration way in the dust. Bottlenecks, handoff, or dependencies. Ooh. I think I guessed wrong.
I got it wrong.
Yeah. Usually the word that's the hardest to spell doesn't work.
this is the one I felt the least confident in, but I actually got it right. So what does that tell us? I don't know.
All right, last one coming up. I blew that one. I'm only 1 for 3 right now. All right, breaching. I make a guess on that one.
I got that one wrong again.
I got it right.
I'm
Look at
just
that.
going after security terms. I'm not. I'm just
Again, it's anybody on Google. So
Wow, but look
thing
how much too. I mean, to your
geez,
point,
look
wow,
at that
that's
branching. Definitely not a chance on branching. My God,
Mm-mm.
you know what it is? It's what it is the way we get distracted by this is there's often like a nightclub called the Parallel Lines or something like
Yeah.
that, and everyone's searching that, and that's what can throw you off. Is just some anomaly like that will get you. All right, let's see who won. 3 out of 4, Kumar. So possibly number 1 got 4 out of 4. Swag collector. Well, 3 out of 4 still. And that would be who? Little Dutch comes back and wins. Look at that. Good job, Dutch. Congratulations. All right, we're going to play another game. The next game we play is for a prize. That'll be the Tragic Quadrant. All right, let's get back to our discussion at hand. Oh, now, James, we've been talking about AI workflows and data workflows with AI. We thrilled that Protectory's sponsoring this. Please tell me what exactly is Protegrity doing here, because you come as someone who has dealt with this before. What have you seen? What are you seeing with Protegrity with your customers, and how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And first, we're thrilled to be here and actually thrilled to be doing more of this with you too, because at Protegrity, we really take a bit of a different approach. We're helping companies enable data for AI and analytics and do so in a safe, responsible way at scale, because every business wants to leverage more of its data. AI needs massive amounts of data to be effective, but that data also carries a lot of real risk with it. So, at Protegrity, we protect the sensitive information directly at the data level, not just by surrounding it with perimeter infrastructure or identity controls. And again, don't get me wrong, defense in depth, all of those things are important. But being at the data level, it's so that data can move securely through data pipelines, model training, RAG systems, agentic workflows, and do so without leaking, without drifting, without violating your policy. So, I would say we see a lot of blocking of access and a lot of observability and visibility happening in AI. What we really look to enable is governed, purpose aware, or context aware, like the term that we used before, data use, so that the right users and the right machines get access to the right data at the right time for the right task, no matter which cloud, no matter which model, no matter which system you're using. Our solution is really purpose built to enable AI with security and governance at scale.
When people come to you, like, what is the situation they're in? Are they like, because I gotta assume this seems so friggin' overwhelming for most people. Like, it's like one of these, how do you eat an elephant thing? Just start and like most of us are like, maybe I could bite a leg. I don't know what I could get here. Like, it's is it just a situation that it's so overwhelming for people and they don't know where to start?
I see a lot of spaghetti getting thrown against the wall. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is there's just so much unknown of what is going to be the answer here. I
Mhm.
look at one of the analyst reports that I was reading recently, and they asked CISOs, what are the top, three things you're doing to address AI? And what I found really interesting is that it was a non-answer because all of the answers were within 1 or 2 percentage points of each other. There was no clear winner where someone was saying, I found the answer. Instead, it's I'm throwing spaghetti against the wall to try and see what sticks. And the bigger problem becomes the business side is wanting to move fast. In the past, they were willing to accept risk. When it came to things like compliance, what was the worst that was going to happen? You get a little slap on your wrist and maybe some fine from a regulator. All right, cost of doing business. But no one's out there saying, go ahead and train that AI model on all of my most sensitive data. We'll accept that risk. And so they're throwing a lot of stuff at it. But what we're seeing is not a lot of results coming out of that so far.
All right, audience, we got something for you. Obviously, Protegrity knows what the heck they're doing. So if you would like to have a nice, warm introduction to the people over at Protegrity, there you go. That's a poll. Please do me a favor. Go ahead and uh, go ahead and respond to that poll. Say yes or no. Either way, we're going to make an introduction. Look, you're already answering. I appreciate that. Get in there and answer. I'm going to leave that up for a few seconds more, and then what I'll do is I'll just sort of close this window right here. You maybe you can close it, but you can always go to the poll if you click the little sort of bar chart icon in the right. Oh, look, great! Tons of people are getting in right now. Here, actually, let me close it, but let me close this there. I'll bring it back up again, but you can always go to it if you click on the little bar charts and you'll find the poll there and be able to go. All right, I got a ton more questions. It got lots of good stuff in here. Um, all right, this is a good question. I'll start with you, Doug. And if you don't know the answer to this, that's okay. If you use a tool like Copilot to summarize emails, the summaries do not follow data retention timelines, then how would you enforce a retention across agentic AI? What's your take?
Well, that's a great question, because it's talking about emails versus other agent use, right? So, um, emails retention should come into play, but if when it comes to other files with Copilot, that's the challenge, right? So, Copilot typically, when you deal Copilot and license Copilot, you're really dealing with Microsoft Office 365.
Mhm.
So, there's other retention barriers there, and I think, um, as we all know, like, what Copilot uses is what's accessible to it. So retention the data, and also what access to what data you have is important for Copilot and its functionality. So email retention is a little bit different than file retention if you don't practice that. Um,
So, well, let me throw it to you, James, and I don't know if you can answer this question. Um, I mean, are there ways to control the data retention if you're throwing things into Copilot?
The thing that I think you also want to think about is the sensitivity of the data. And so, really being able to look at, because you're going to have different retention policies for different types of data, and being able to really know what's going in there and trying to take action on some of that data before it gets there. This goes back to the zero trust AI discussion. If you have highly sensitive information that has a high retention policy, I would almost argue that in the first place, should that information have ever gotten to AI in the first place? Because you do struggle with knowing what AI is going to retain, especially if you're opening up those public models to your users.
So if you have a retention policy on it, maybe don't do it at all at this stage right now, being that we don't have the tools to or good enough tool to manage it. Doug, is that what you're about to say? Or
Yeah, and I think so, and I think you also zero trust is really role based access control, right? And what you're allowed to do, but I think you're getting to more attribute access control when it comes to
Mhm.
this at the data level. So I think, and I want to say that a lot of people don't have attribute access control handled in a lot of spaces. So that's pretty much that we get back to that context again.
And
Are
Doug, attribute is so tied to the context discussion from before as well, because
Mhm.
the attributes of a person or of a system or what they're trying to do with it is going to be applicable to that context aware approach too. So I mean, it all flows together. I completely agree.
All right, I like
Yeah.
this question that just came in from Freddie Alvarez, and I'd love to know if you think there. I'd love to know if you think there is an answer to this. All right, Freddie asks, "What do you consider to be the most underestimated attack vector in AI workflows today, especially in models that combine RAG, agents, and automation? Is there a top vector? I don't know. Anyone got an idea on this?"
Man, it's a really good question, and unfortunately, I probably have 10 top answers for this. I do think some of the things that we're seeing first around RAG, and I mean, what is
And
RAG?
he
RAG
also
is
said underestimated too. I said top 10, but maybe answer it like, hey, no one's looking
ah,
at this.
Oh, actually, that's a good point. I would say RAG is probably one of the top ones because you're looking at that retrieval automation. So now you have some sort of agentic workflow that's going to be scouring your systems. I was at the Snowflake Security Summit right after all the big Snowflake breach stuff happened,
Mhm.
maybe a year and a half ago. And the CISO of Snowflake said something really interesting. He said, "Hey, raise your hand if you know all of the files you have access to on SharePoint." And of course, no one raised their hand, but he said, guess who does know? Your AI. Your AI knows about all those files. It's going to retrieve that information and bring it forward. So that's probably the top. The underestimated to the question to me is more on the data side. If you look at things like knowledge graphs, because knowledge graphs are going to have all of your data, have all the context of your business, and not protecting the knowledge graph starts to become a single source attack vector for a lot of really rich, valuable information. And knowledge graphs are one of the things data teams are really going to be using more and more of as they go forward.
Well, that would be enormously helpful. Yes. Doug, do you have an idea of what's most underestimated in terms of like, hey, everyone's keeping their eye off the ball on this thing?
Well, I think people think DLP is going to fix their problem, and I think the context of DLP is not capable for doing this. So the data output, output of going out what an input ejection has created. I think people are overestimating the DLP technology out there. So I think leakage is probably going to be even more significant if you're not monitoring that going out before it goes out. I
All
think
right.
prompt injection. I think everyone's practicing and testing for prompt injection, and they're not really
Mhm.
thinking about the other side as much.
Yeah, there is a lot of focus on prompt injection. I would agree. Um, oh, another good one from Sema. Are you doing red teaming on your AI workflows? If so, can you speak a bit about that? I mean, I like into a magician act versus traditional red teaming, which is more like burglarizing. Like, I mean, also, like this was my question about the canary in the coal mine type idea is maybe what could we test right now to know how messy it is? Because I know we've talked to other guests before where we just show them like, watch what I can get from your data. Like, have you been able to do that? Well, Doug, within your own environment, like this shouldn't be there, and I can get it.
Well, we lean on red teaming all the time. Red
Yeah.
teaming is our last sanity check, really. So you should be doing dynamic runtime testing throughout any pipelines. You should be doing runtime testing through any use of Copilot and in those out of the box types of AI that end users might be using or agents. But red teaming is your last sanity check before, especially if you go anything production worthy.
Mhm.
I think red teaming is critical. Now here's the thing: how do you like any type of pen testing activities? It's all depends on the capability of that that red team organization or team or intern. Are you trained enough to do it right? So I think
Yeah,
that's
they may not
the
have the
next
skills
new
to do
area.
this at all.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
James,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
One of the
assuming,
things. Oh, go ahead.
well, let me ask you, when you do an engagement with a customer, do you show exposed data?
Do we show exposed data? We show the risks of that information, but I would actually put it this way and say, when it comes to, like, think about guardrails. Guardrails are a great example of this, and there's a couple of ways to train guardrails. It almost kind of harkens back to the old antivirus days of signature based, where, okay, I'm looking for this type of prompt injection to happen, and so you have to know all the things you're looking for. Versus actually, what we tend to see is being able to train guardrails on what you want to have happen. If you take
Mhm.
that proactive approach that says, focused on here's the things I want you to answer, the things I want you to be aware of, and anything that doesn't fall in this context is something you should just throw out and not even be able to talk about. So that's really kind of something that we tend to see here, because now when you start trying to attack that, it doesn't matter if you have the most off the wall idea of something to throw at AI. If it wasn't trained on that, it's going to ignore it in the first place.
Okay. All right. More questions from our awesome audience. I greatly appreciate that. Um, uh, oh, here's a good one. I like this one. From Rajitha Marur. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. How do you govern and track the efficacy of the AI workflow from a training bias perspective? Or, I mean, I would even stop at that right there. How do you govern and track the efficacy of your AI workflow, period? And then also training bias too, another good reason. But how do we know it's better? And like, this is something I've said previously on this show before of, and I'm quoting one of our guests, Davi Ottenheimer, who said, there's this old line, garbage in, garbage out, but he's modified it to be garbage in, beautiful out, because no matter what you throw into AI, it's going to push it out, making it look fantastic. So you won't know if it's good or bad. So James, let me ask you this question. How do you track that what you're doing is actually working and having an improvement?
Yeah, this is actually a fantastic question. I agree, because by definition, AI is probabilistic. It's kind of making guesses at the things that it should put out there and say. And a lot of the people that we're working with, there's this a term around, semantic and being more deterministic. And so when you think about it, it's actually letting even sometimes the AI help with that. Now, bear with me for a second. I understand the hesitation that may come with that statement, but we've seen people doing things like, well, what if I look at the response that comes out? Can I have the same LLM or another LLM try and regenerate the question that was asked to give me this answer? Because I have an answer, and if I can't get back to the original question, then there's probably a problem with that answer. And so it's almost using AI within itself to say, if you can't get me an answer and then get back to the same question from that answer, then you've probably done something wrong. And there may be some challenges there that we need to look at.
What about you, Doug? How do you know that, this is a classic question just about security in
Yeah.
general, but specifically around AI, like, how do you know
Yeah.
if you're doing the right thing? Like,
I mean,
are there any before and after testing you can do?
well, I mean, we keep on running into that testing and have a human in a loop in that testing is the only way you're going to really see if it's really working right. And
Hmm.
there's studies out there that says like unless you bring human in the loop, you can only get you won't get to 90% accuracy. So
Yeah.
um, I think it's really hard to not have the human in the loop in that testing and training.
And I would completely agree with that. We were working with a company in the UK, and their version of this is human in the loop versus human in the loo. So what happens when the human's in the loo while you're trying to do something? And so this is where I really think it's a combination discussion here. There is no single answer to this, but there are tricks on the AI side where you can actually have AI almost judge itself Think about an LLM as a judge that says, don't trust your own output. Try and get back to what you were doing to increase the accuracy rate. But ultimately speaking, Doug is spot on. These probabilistic systems, while we may want to try and make them deterministic, they are probabilistic by design, and that's what the humans are there for.
Yeah, and I think where it comes down to is that where's your security policy applying to what part of what type of data that you can lock down the really sensitive stuff, and then if as long as you're using copies of that data and you're excluding and normalizing anything sensitive, it gives you that flexibility to say, hey, am I in the loop or am I in the loop, right? So because remember, it's all looping, right? And this whole thing is looping and trying to get the right answer, and if you keep out that sensitive data out of that loop, you're probably in a better place that you say, okay, I'm not exposing myself, and privacy is less of a challenge now. So
Yeah, and the business struggle of keeping the sensitive data out, though, is that starving AI. Because a lot
yeah,
of times, the one thing I do see on the security side, we tend to drive towards the, well, just don't give them access, don't let them have that data, and that's an easy security answer because that really supports high risk data. But the business is sitting here saying, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to train an AI model, or maybe not even train. I'm trying to run an AI model to do fraud detection on credit card transactions. Well, if I redact credit card numbers or I mask credit card numbers, that AI model loses its referential integrity. So you've got to get the sensitivity out of the data, not necessarily the sensitive data out of the AI, if that makes sense. And so you take something like an approach to doing tokenization. Tokenization is format preserving, length preserving, type preserving, meaning it has referential integrity. So that AI model is still able to do all the things it needs without exposing the actual underlying credit card number itself.
All right, let me remind everybody. Hey, look, there's a poll from Protegrity, and or not from Protegrity, from us to give you a warm handoff to Protegrity. Do me a favor, if you have not answered that poll already and would like a nice warm handoff to Protegrity, go ahead and answer it. Please feel free to answer yes or no, because either way you do it, we will make the introduction for you, and you can learn more from them as well. I'm assuming you guys have lots of great resources. Yes, James?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, we are also partnering with academics and others. I mean, we are doing so much both in the commercial, in the academic space, also working with regulators on this. This is something that is very near and dear to our hearts. I mean, and let me be clear, I've been in cybersecurity my entire career, and I would say there's never been a time for this type of capability that Protegrity offers on fine-grained data protection like there is with AI. Again, I go back to my comments at the start. With compliance, maybe it's a better mousetrap, but it's not necessarily worth the investment. When it comes to AI, it's what we just talked about. You can't starve your AI of information, but you have to do so in a secure, safe fashion.
All right, let's play our next game. Let's do this.
Deceptions, lies, treachery, and the truth on the Tragic Quadrant.
All right, we are playing the Tragic Quadrant, and as you enter, I'm going to explain to you exactly how this game is played. 8, 6, 6, 7. I'm entering. Oh, I'm not going to. Wait a second. I know the answers to this. I'm not playing this game. What am I saying? I'm not going to play. Get in there. If you were at CMC, the Cyber Marketing Con, earlier this week and saw me play this game on stage, you are not eligible to play because you know the answers. But everyone else doesn't know the answers, so you are very welcome to play. And again, we're playing for an awesome thing. Like you could win one of these awesome new hoodies too, as well. And you'll just get to pick something from our brand new swag store. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right. So here's it. It's called the Tragic Quadrant. We are all familiar with something called the Magic Quadrant that Gartner puts out. What we're going to do is we're going to present to you 4 names of categories. Only one of them is real. The other 3 we made up. You have to figure out which is the correct one. By the way, James and Doug, you are competing as well. So pick the right one quickly to win. You're going to be up against everybody else. All right, I'm going to count down from 10. You all better be in. 10, 9, 8. There's going to be an awesome prize at the end of this, so I would want to get in. 7, 6. Remember, you got to click the little icon that says a little game controller right there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's start the game. And we have a nice, fun little graphic up front that we create of the tragic quadrant. There it is. The existential dread, imminent failure, overpriced hype, utterly useless. The tragic quadrant.
Love it.
All right. First one. I think we have, we have 4. We have 4 here. 4 or 5. I think from 2 out of 9, that's 4 or 5. All right. What are they? Attack surface visualization tools. By the way, they do not match the order that you see on the screen. Like they're mixed around. So make sure you're selecting the correct one. Which one of these is a real category and one we made up? Threat modeling automation is the correct one, and most of you got that. So good job to everybody. Let's see who's currently in the lead. It is Darius. Ooh, very good, Darius. Good job. All right. Return of Dutch and the Dutch. I don't know which one's Dutch, but yes, threat modeling automation is actually a real Gartner category. The others, maybe one day will be a Gartner category, but currently no. Let's go. All right, here we go. 4 more. You've got 15 seconds to answer. They're all believable.
Yeah, this is harder than I thought it would be.
Again, the majority got the correct answer. Secure enterprise browsers. Very good, everybody. We've actually had a few of them on those enterprise browser companies. The Dutch. And again, I don't know if that's the real Dutch or not, because I have the return of Dutch and the Dutch. It could be neither. It could be 2 people trying to fake Dutch. Dutch was a regular with us for quite some time, and then he disappeared for a while, but he is back today. Thrilled to have him back. All right. Secure enterprise browsers. Good job. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, we have 2 more, looks like. All right. Which one of these is real? Digital risk protection services. Yeah, they all could be it. Return to Dutch is now. So again, one of these Dutches may win. We're going to find out with the last question here. Here we go. Last question. Which is the real Gartner category? All right, it's going to be one of those. Actually, if you know the acronym, you'll get this one. There's my big hint. No, everyone thought it was Secure Remote Access Edge. It's SASE, Secure Access Service Edge. 6 got it. All right. Let's see who the final winner is. 3 out of 4. So return of Dutch. Darius, second, just missed out. A perfect score would be the Dutch. Oh, Doc Drew again. Oh my God. Andrew Aiken is kicking friggin' ass. He's going to get everything on our swag store. Well, by the way, Andrew, we will send the code to you. We know your address. We'll send the code to you to get something. So go ahead and do just that as well. All right. Let's get back to our discussion at hand. Let's go. I've got lots more good questions for you. And everyone, by the way, go ahead and vote on our questions because we got so many in here. And I want to know which ones you want to hear the answers to. Well, some of these are not questions, but they were put in. What was there was a question there was one that I liked. I'm sorry. I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm just going to throw this one on stage. Here we go. From James Sparenberg, with AI companies want to desperately get more and more data for their AI, understandably. But how do you prevent them from putting agents in everything that doesn't necessarily qualify as an AI product? Okay, Here's a perfect example of this. I bought a SaaS product 2-3 years ago. I didn't buy an AI product. Now, to stay competitive, that SaaS product is now doing AI, and now my data is feeding its model. How do I know it's happening? How do I stop it from happening? What's going on? Either one of you jump in on this.
That's a huge problem that
And I'm sure
most
you
companies
see
are
this all
dealing
the
with it.
time, Doug. Yes.
Oh yeah, because there's always that added service that will use if they're charging more. Usually you can capture that. You don't want it. You want it turned off, but sometimes they just bake it in just to become more competitive for new customers. Your third party risk assessment process can help out, but here's the thing: unless there's a situation that procurement finds out about it because it costs more, it's really hard to get your hands around. So you're stuck with a schedule of assessing your third parties, and that schedule has to be really more adaptive and also potentially intelligent. Like you have to go and say what's changed in the last 6 months. I don't know anyone who has staff to do that. So
And I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Can you go to a vendor's website now and not see AI in the first headline that pops up? I would almost challenge you to find a vendor that doesn't have that. So the question of how do we stop it, I think the answer is you might not be able to, but where I think you might want to be thinking about too are like bring your own model approaches. Fine if you want to put AI in, but can I bring my own model to that I feel I have the right security, the right training, the right information around so that I don't have to rely on your model or something in the public?
Yeah, I think tokenizing your data so it doesn't go in there, it might be the best progressive approach. I mean, remember years ago when AWS and Azure started becoming a big thing, and then you got to the point where you want to consume that, you want to use your own PKI or your own certificate, your own keys. That had to become that control had to become more realized in those platforms. I think that's the same thing with any of our third party vendors. It's going to have to be how do you control from the data going in that they can't monopolize on it.
All right, let's jump to this question. Oh, that's a good question. I like this one from Sema Atik Holmes. And by the way, what books, and I would just say any resources, are you currently reading? And I'll throw this also out to the chat room that they find very insightful on AI. It's a good question. What do you think?
I read a lot of online stuff, to tell the truth, because I think books are not keeping up.
Well, yeah, it's hard to publish it. So where would you point people? Doug, where would you point people? Like what online resources?
ChatGPT. It's no, it's funny. My feed is I be honest, I still lean on the X for a lot of feed information. It's
really just like following
so dynamic. Yeah, there's so new stuff. Yeah, it's very dynamic. Follow critical people that are subject matter experts in the space is probably I find the most interesting information to read up on.
I 100% agree. I use a lot of Reddit because it's really about trying to. There is no definitive answer on this. I found a thread the other day that was about the Anthropic analysis of what had happened, where someone was using them to actually do pen test. They said, pretend you're an internal pen tester trying to attack this company, and it was a really interesting read about what they found out about how bad actors were taking advantage of their models. And so for me, it really is that kind of news cycle, if you will, of the stuff that's coming out, but trying to obviously be targeted at things like that, which are that was them opening the kimono a little bit and saying, look, here's what we saw happen with us so that you can be aware of it.
All right.
Yeah, and newsletters I think also, if you subscribe to newsletters, I think that delivers a lot of interesting
there's a lot of good
too.
like what is it? Superhuman is one that I subscribe to that I think it's quite good. That's a really good one if you're not already on that one. Hey, we need to wrap this up, but geez, time is flying. This is good. Hold on. Let me present this on stage here. We're going to do a quick wrap up here. Whoops. And double clicked. All All right. Huge thanks to Protegrity for sponsoring today's episode. I'm going to have a final question for both of you in just a second. Sorry I didn't get to everybody's questions. Hey, this Monday, join us at 4 p.m. Eastern for our show, Department of No. Our Friday show, if you didn't know this, it is moved to Monday. And also possibly by next Monday, we'll tell you we have a whole new look for Department of No and cybersecurity headlines. New logo design. And we will hopefully be able to present it to you sometime next week. If not, the week after. Anyways, we'll have John Till Johnson, one of our favorites, CEO and founder of Nemertes, and Andy Ellis, my co-host over at CISO Series Podcast. He's at Duha. Stick around for our meetup. Okay, there's a lot of you online right now, and a lot of you I want to meet face-to-face or see again face-to-face virtually. Do stick around. What you have to do, there's nowhere you need to go. Just stay where you are. It's going to, like when we end the event, it's going to say rooms being created. Just stay there and you'll be able to move out between rooms. So just stick around for that. And then lastly, if you want to sponsor a Super Cyber Friday, email us at info@cisoseries.com. Let me do two quick things in wrapping up here. One is I still have it at the bottom of the screen. I do want you to register, and I'm going to put it up full on the screen. I'm going to show this again. Please register for an event that's happening on January 9th, 2026. Please go ahead and do that. Click the register button there. It will not take you out of this discussion, and I'm going to close that out, but you can always do that. I'm putting it at the bottom of the screen. And then also just want to mention here, I'm going to put the poll up here. I'm going to actually show it again on stage. I'm going to keep it up there for our last few minutes. Go ahead. Click your response on here. Answer this. If you would like a nice warm handoff to the people at Protegrity, we'll make it happen. And last questions for both of you, and that is, we've only got a few minutes left. I'll start with you, Doug. What did we not talk about today that we should have talked about?
I think we didn't talk about how important a joint ownership of AI governance and your AI governance committee needs to be stacked with the people across your company, because the one thing that we didn't get into is how do you handle a breach when it does happen, and how do you pull out if the workflow allows your data to slip through and get out to something that's uncontrolled. You really need to get that under control and be prepared for a potential breach if it does happen. So
shared responsibility, something we talk about a lot. Yes. Doug. Yep. All right. James, what did we not talk about that we should have been talking about?
We obviously, for lots of reasons, had a very security-centric approach to this, but I think we also need to be thinking about what do the AI and data teams need from security to move fast so that they're not blocked by policy or blocked by governance. Because let's remember, this is a balancing act between the risk of data and the value and consumption of data. So your business wants instant access to usable data, but for that, we want to think about things like consistent policies across all of these different tools. They need security that doesn't break a schema or break a pipeline or have to reinvent a pipeline even. So they want something that's also embedded in and almost invisible to them. Because in a data person's mind, I need protected data that's reversible, irreversible, synthetic. I need centralized governance, but decentralized execution. I want security by default, not security after 6 weeks of approvals. And we have to keep that in mind because, and I love the team of no example you had up before, because we all know that security is often called the team of no. But really being able to balance that risk of data with the consumption needs of the business allows security teams to become an enabler for their data and AI teams.
You just hit, this was a question I completely missed from Maureen Holland that hits that right there. How are you bringing other areas of the business like legal and compliance into the discussion, especially when it comes to access controls and data restrictions? I'm seeing conflicting business priorities and wondering how you handle those. Doug, I'm actually going to ask you that with exactly 60 seconds. So really no pressure whatsoever. Give us one tip quickly.
It's again, I just said it earlier, a joint ownership of data governance. You really are not making decisions in a silo. You're never going to accomplish getting this running way it should without everyone at the table. And it is extremely critical.
Okay. Great way to wrap this up. You know what? This is not the end of it. You want to talk this more, stick around. You want to talk about anything, just stick around. We're going to do our meetup right now. Huge thanks to our guests, James Rice and Doug Mayer from Protegrity and WCG, respectively. Thank you to our sponsor, our producer, Josh, and also our other producers, Chris, Rich, and Andrew as well. Thank you to our audience. We greatly appreciate you showing up. And guess what? Let's wrap this whole sucker up. Stick around. Stay exactly where you are. Do not go anywhere. We're doing our post-show meetup. It's a lot of fun. Josh, take us out.